going on, everybody? I'm Vinny Costa, editor of Street Muscle Magazine and your host of the RodCast, brought to you by Lucas Oil. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Greg Acosta, editor of Engine Labs and the all-around tech guru. What's up, Greg?
Hey, Vinny, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I think so. This is one that we've had on the docket for a while. We're going to talk to our good buddy, Will Baty of Centerforce Clutches. A lot of people in the industry know him as the clutch guy because he knows all about them. So we're going to do a deep dive into some of the modern materials that they're using, some of the new products that they have, and just talk to him, about some of the off-roading that he does. He's an avid off-roader. He actually lives out near you.
Yep. And that off-roading thing is kind of new for him because when I first met Will, I'm not going to say how long ago because it was a long time ago, but it was through drag racing.
That is something I did not know about him. I didn't know that he got his start in drag racing.
Yeah, watching his transition on Facebook to an off-roader has been kind of odd because Will's been a drag racer. I've always known Will as a drag racer, and seeing him take to the Jeep thing that you and I have both talked about as not really our thing, been a little.
So the off-road thing is something that I am interested in. I'm not an off-roader. I can't claim to be one. I think it's really fun. I've done some off-roading. I want to do more. I'm just not a Jeep guy, So you guys probably were fast friends because from my understanding, I think he was once a Mustang guy, right?
Yeah. Well, I actually didn't know about his Mustang stuff until later. Because originally, I met him through working for NMRA, for race pages, because Centerforce was big into that. And and so,
Well, the company's now a powerhouse in the industry, man. Everybody knows them. They make clutches for damn near everything. And all varying types of power outputs and things tailored to do certain things, right? So if you're building a rock crawler, they have an option for you. If you're building, a 2000 horsepower Pro Mod, they probably have a clutch for you. I guess if you're going to use a manual transmission in that, which would not really happen, but you know what I mean.
Well, no, there's those huge power clutch cars.
Yeah,
there's some clutch Pro Mods. Granted, they're using crazy, little itty bitty triple disc, or quad discs sometimes, just crazy little race clutches, but still. Well,
who knows, man? Maybe they have something for that. I know for sure that they have a lot of stuff for the off-road community. We'll ask Will about that, what some of their offerings are. But I'm interested to get his take on some things that are on our minds because I love a manual car, man, but where are they all going? Manufacturers aren't making them anymore.
Save the manuals. Who is it? There's some ad. I don't know why it's been popping up on all my social media lately. And it's the Manual Gearbox Preservation Society or something. It's but I'm not going to lie. Their merch is pretty cool. And I think it's just a merch company, but I'm not going to lie. I was looking at some t-shirts.
Check this out. This is free advertising for you guys. So give me some love, American Powertrain. They gave this out at, do I have to turn it around? Can you read that?
Yeah, the Save the Stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
is that better?
Yeah, that's their motto. I love the Save the Stick.
Yeah. So I keep this with me. It was a great swag thing that they were giving out one year. I think at SEMA or maybe NPMC.
They are known for their swag because they also give out the bacon.
Yeah. It's that smoky bacon.
Yeah, and it's tough because Engine Labs doesn't deal with powertrain all that often. So I don't get meetings with them. So I always have to mooch off other people.
Well, okay. So I feel really bad because I ate it one year when we went and that was awesome. And then the next year when we went back, I left it in my bag and I forgot about it for a while. And I think it would have been fine. It was maybe 4 or 5 days, after NPMC. And I probably could have eaten it, but I was nervous. So I ended up giving it to my roommate's dog. And he was he was ravenous for this bacon, as you can imagine a big German Shepherd would be.
You were his best friend.
Yeah. Oh, bro. He was he wouldn't leave me alone for a week. Bro, I don't have any more. I know I smell this smoky bacon. I want some too, but just sorry, bro. Anyways,
as we go down the rabbit hole.
yeah, well, let us know in the comment section below. Do you like smoky bacon? If not, what are you doing here?
And
Will Baty, let's talk to him, Greg. But
All right.
first, a word from our sponsors. Motor oils and additives are the two most important pillars of the German company Liqui-Moly. Beyond that, the company sells service products, car care, greases, pastes, underbody protection, and windscreen adhesives. They also offer the tools and equipment required to use those products effectively. There are a total of more than 4,000 items, which make Liqui-Moly a globally unique, full-range retailer for automotive chemicals. Along with cars, Liqui-Moly also has its own product range for motorcycles and bicycles, for commercial vehicles and construction machines, for garden devices and industrial applications, as well as for boats and small aircraft. In order to ensure the consistently high quality of its products, Liqui-Moly produces its oils and additives exclusively in Germany. So, if you want to check out the high quality products of Liqui-Moly, go to liquimoly.com. That's LIQUI-MOLY.com. Will Baty, everyone. Hey, what's going on, sir? How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. We're happy to have you here, and we appreciate you making the time to do this, man. Thank you.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all.
Hey, so what's that background you have behind you? It's a bunch of Centerforce products, yeah.
Oh, yeah, just rolling around making clutches, shaking
Oh, it's
around,
fantastic.
around and painting.
Yeah, well, so that's actually a perfect segue for you to introduce yourself to our audience and kind of let them know who it is you are and what you do in the automotive aftermarket.
Well, Will Baty. I work with Centerforce clutches. Been doing this for 33 years now. Solid gray hair. And yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what we do over here. Just make clutches, flywheels, and have fun with them.
Yeah, man. Centerforce is I mean, they're one of the top tier names in the industry when you start talking about clutches and, I mean, the name precedes you. You're right there in Arizona, right near Greg, right?
Yeah, Prescott, Arizona. Yeah, yes, sir. So,
yeah, I know that you're an avid off-roader. You have a bunch of videos out there online on YouTube. For those of you at home that are watching, go over to the Centerforce YouTube channel and check out their videos. There's a bunch of cool stuff on there. What can you tell us about your experience with? Because I know that you handle Centerforce's marketing, but you're also deeply involved in the R&D process. So as an off-roader, what can you tell me about how you combine those two roles?
So what we do is, I'll just use my Jeep, for example. When I first bought that Jeep, the stock clutch in it absolutely sucked. And that is a technical term, and you guys are welcome to use it anytime you want. But it just didn't have a great pedal feel. So the modulation, you let the clutch out, and it was kind of really soft pedal. And so when and the Jeep is really quiet. So when you go to take off on a hill or something, you can't really hear the vehicle, and you start to let the clutch out, and it would stall really easy. And it didn't take much to stall that, because that 3.6 engine just doesn't have the bottoming torque like the old straight sixes do. So that was one of the things the Jeeps are missing, and they're heavy. So it didn't take much for the weight of the vehicle to bring the engine down and stall it. So we went to old school thinking and said, okay, well, how can we combat that? Well, put a heavier flywheel. So that's what we did, and we developed a nice heavy flywheel. And man, that just solved all the issues in the world with that. And now I can let the clutch out and just let that thing crawl and not even touch the throttle. And it will actually, if I had a little remote control, I could actually steer my Jeep from the outside of it and watch it do what it wants to do.
Yeah, you're not kidding, man. I think the last time I saw you face to face was SEMA 2019, and I think that was when you guys were unveiling that flywheel, or it was at least one of your newer products. And you showed me that video of your Jeep just crawling. You're not kidding, man. That, like, how did you accomplish that? Did you just add weight? I mean, what's that process, that engineering process like?
A lot of teardown, quite honestly. We'd have to test different weights and what weight worked the best. The very first time we did it, it was way too much weight. and it's easier to whittle it out than to add it on. So we made it really heavy and just started pulling weight out of it until we got to where we liked it, so it didn't have too much rev hang. So you run through the RPM and the engine just saying, we didn't want a lot of that. And because the Jeep's really not, it's not fast. A Jeep's performance is off road.
Right.
When you get it out on the trail, that's where its performance is. It's not on the highway. Trust me. There's no way in this world I'll listen to anybody that says their Jeep's fast, unless it's got a V8 in it. So,
oh, what about that new 392?
Oh, that thing's awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I don't know if you watch Marco Hernandez, they call him the Overland X, and he's the Overland chef, and he got the ride in one in Moab, and immediately he went and ordered one. You just watch the smile on his face, it's just,
I believe it, man. Greg will tell you that I historically have not been the biggest Jeep fan, because I respect like their utilitarian function and the fact that, they're fantastic for like climbing over anything. But just like you said, they're not fast. So they've kind of never really been on my radar. But as soon as they announced that 392 option, I was like, this is what it's been missing for me anyways.
Yeah.
That V8 option, man. So cool.
Well, the only problem with it's an automatic.
Yeah. Oh, is that true? You can't get in a manual?
No. We can fix that though.
Well, yeah. I mean, doing all that research and development for that. What was the product name for that flywheel?
So we just call it our high inertia steel flywheel. And so I've got it down where I can pull my Jeep. I can put it on a lift and have that clutch out of it in 2 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet you guys got really good at taking that transmission in and out of that Jeep, man. But no, so that was actually something that I was talking to Greg about before, before you joined us, mm-hmm. And it had to do with the materials, right? So you talk about automatic transmissions, and they've come leaps and bounds in the past decade or so, and it's largely due to some of the materials that they've been using. So when we look at a manual transmission, and you look at those same materials, what can you tell us about when you start mixing dissimilar materials, right? So new clutches, does that necessitate a new material for the flywheel? What can you tell us about all that?
So normally a factory flywheel is an iron flywheel. And I'll give you a nice example of the new Jeeps, the new JL. They've had a multitude of issues and recalls due to clutch explosions. Well, the factory clutch is gray iron, which is it's an iron. So ask Don Roberts what he thinks of gray iron, and he's missing half a foot because of that. Gray iron explodes. It doesn't like heat. When you're on the trail, when an off-road, you're losing that clutch a lot. Trying to put your tire in the right spot, especially in a rocky situation. You guys are slipping the clutch a little bit, generating heat. Well, that Jeep actually has a lot of hydraulic issues as well. It was inducing air into the system, so it wasn't getting a nice clean release. So the clutch was always slipping. And it's just all it's doing is generating heat and these things are exploding. So for us, one thing we wanted to go away from was that iron. So we wanted to put the steel in it. And that's what we did. And then we obviously used the good friction materials as well. And then our ball pressure.
How did you guys have to change the friction material that you used?
We typically do. The OE uses typically, they're trying to save money. They build that vehicle as cheap as they can. For us, we're trying to use the best quality friction material we can. Something that's going to withstand the heat and also longevity, clutch longevity. So we want some life and something with strength in it.
Well, you mentioned some of the other components as well, some of the bearings and things like that. How do you go about re-engineering what they've created to suit your needs, right? That abuse that you're going to put it under?
Well, in the off-road industry, in the Jeep, it goes through so many different environments, whether it be water, mud, dust, all that stuff gets up into the bell housing and, the throat. And they take a toll over a period of time. So you want to make sure you put a good bearing in there. Same thing with a pilot bearing. On the JK, it's got an open exposed pilot bearing, and there's just not much there, and it's grease. So we know grease is not, dust or dirt is naturally attractive to anything wet, and it stays wet. So what we use is a sealed bearing so that the dust is not going to affect it, and the clutch is still going to work and perform what it's supposed to.
Interesting. Hey, Will, you started talking about, the off-road application. And I know this applies to, performance applications as well when you're talking about a car on the racetrack and things like that. But I'm curious, when you're out on the trail, does your legs still, like get real tired like it, used to, or have the days of like a super heavy clamp load kind of?
It's a soft, and like I initially said, we use a ball bearing technology. So inside of the pressure plate itself is ball bearings, and so we can add as much clamp load as we want and reduce the pedal up at the same time. So it's not bad. They're not like they used to be, a big stiff heavy clutch. I wouldn't like that. Not on the trail.
Yeah, I bet not, man. Yeah. So can you kind of elaborate on that, how that ball bearing technology works as opposed to, like the antiquated technology that caused that heavy clamp, that heavy pedal feel?
Yeah. So, on the old 3-finger, excuse me, picture my eye, it relied on a spring. So there's a diaphragm clutch. If you look right here, there's, let me do this. All that right there, that's a diaphragm spring. And there's two ways to achieve clamp load. One is to change that spring or change the mechanical advantage inside that clutch. But when you do that, you're actually machining the life out of the clutch. So now it's a diminished life on the clutch, right when you put it in. But when we use a ball bearing, we can actually maneuver and put that ball where we want. So we can move it in and still keep the thickness that we want, so that when we put it back together, it still has the factory finger height, the deck height, and we're not messing with that. So we're not messing with that spring. We're not changing that, and internally we're reducing internal friction, so that normally the diaphragm is pivoting on like a tip of a mountain. Okay, so it provides a lot of pressure, and it doesn't have the rolling effect that ball bearing does inside of there. So that's how we do that with the balls, and that's the only question balls.
That's right. Yeah. That is one of your guys' slogans. That's pretty good. Hey, Will, I kind of want to shift gears here a little bit, no pun intended. But I wanted to get your take on something, and I'm sure that this is a question that you've fielded many times, but I wanted to get your take on the aftermarket industry as a whole, as it pertains to the clutch market, right? Because auto manufacturers nowadays are rarely offering a manual option in a lot of the really popular performance cars and trucks and things like that. So where does that clutch market land? Where's it headed? And yeah, I just want to get your take on that.
So obviously, new clutches, it's no secret. Cars are not being made with clutches like they used to. It's obviously a declining market. However, there's a lot of guys doing a lot of transplants. With the newer transmissions, the Trimix 6 speeds, and now they came out with a new 5-speed that they have as well for the smaller ones. There's a lot of guys pulling the automatic or building a new rig as a manual. Now, here's the other thing. There's a lot of cars out there that are still manual transmission. The clutch is a wear item, just like brakes. Sooner or later, you're going to have to change it. So there's always going to be a need for clutch manufacturers. Obviously, newer vehicles just not going to be there. But again, it's a wear item. Sooner or later, it's going to wear out.
Right. So I guess if you were to forecast, it would be more like you're applying established technology to a new application rather than it being developed for new existing applications.
Well, again, you flip that the other way. We're taking newer technology and putting it in an older vehicle. So everything that we develop for today's vehicles actually can apply to an older vehicle and make it a nicer driving vehicle than what it used to be. So
right.
you put a 6-speed in a 67 Camaro with our new twin disc or single disc or whatever we want, and any type of hydraulics that we develop, Well, all of a sudden now you've got a vehicle that does what it never was able to do, when it was originally built. And drive really nice, get very good fuel economy, and run like a strap, I almost said run pretty good. So.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you fielding that question for me. I know that's probably one that you get quite a bit, but you and I both know that the manual is here to stay, whether it's, in classic cars that are being retrofitted, even late model cars that, were just a few years old that are going to be due for that replacement and or upgrade, like you mentioned. So, I don't think that we're going to see a decline in the market as far as a need.
Soon. Sooner or later, yeah, I'm sure it will all go away, but not in your lifetime or mine. So,
right.
So,
hey, so you're we talked about you're an off-roader, and I'm curious, what are some challenges that a person who wanted to go off-roading in, like, say, that new Jeep that we were talking about that is only offered in an automatic? What are some challenges that they would face that a person with a manual would be able to overcome? I'm not an off-roader per se. I do a little bit of off-roading, but I drive a normal pickup truck, automatic, really light stuff. I'm not a rock crawler or anything like that.
Sure. Automatic. Today's automatics are they're pretty nice. An 8-speed automatic's really nice, and for wheeling, they do really well. On a mechanical side of the fence, and I've said this many times, a manual transmission, say you were wheeling it and you hit, you took a blow to that transmission and lost all the fluid in it. Well, you're still going to get home because it's a mechanical device. It's going to get you back home or off the trail, or somewhere to give yourself a call and call a tow truck. An automatic, once it loses its fluid, it lost its lifeline. It's done. I don't know if you've ever driven a vehicle where the fluid was low and it's just sitting there, going. It's almost like you got a stick and you're pushing the clutch in. As soon as you lose that fluid, that automatic transmission, it's just a big pump. That's all it is. Like the pressure. And as soon as you lose that, you're dead. You're done.
Right.
You're not going anymore. And then each vehicle or each manual and automatic, they have their pros and cons. A manual transmission, I like it for especially coming down a hill or a steep obstacle, because I can just hold it, and the engine's going to idle and the vehicle's just going to come down at a very slow rate. And if I was to drop the back tires over an obstacle like a rock or something, it's still going to come down at a controlled speed. An automatic, as soon as it loses that resistance, it almost goes into a freewheel. So it comes off of that rock relatively quickly, and then the spring and the weight of the vehicle will come down and it'll hit the bumper or even the quarter panel, unless you're on the brake. So there's different techniques, with both. I prefer a manual. I like to be able to pick and choose what gear I'm going to be in, and then being able to hold it. This is what I like.
I think you bring up some interesting points, and I think the first one that comes to my mind is like, it's not out of the realm of reality if you're out there banging on the trail and you're climbing over rocks and you're doing all this and that you could bust a transmission line or something like that, and then all of a sudden, if you're an automatic, you're kind of stranded. No, that's a great point, Will. What are some of your favorite trails out in the area where you're at?
Oh gosh. I don't know if you watched you mentioned the YouTube earlier, but we don't have it on ours, but it was the Trail Recon, and any of you guys that follow that, Brad was on that, and we just did our very first ever Centerforce off-road, basically it was the overland, adventure. And we hosted it and did that ourselves, and we went up the backside of Crown King. This was starting at Lake Pleasant, came up the backside, and that was just it was a 3-day trip. It was 120, I think I got it at 126 miles of off-roading in 3 days.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was a blast. And, we were talking earlier, There's another trail called Smiley Rock, which is about 15 minutes from my house. And, I do a lot of testing right there, when we're talking about the high inertia steel flywheel, because it's kind of a bouldery, it seems like it's 5 miles long of just boulders, but it's realistically about a half mile. And he just sits there and you're just sitting there rocking, climbing boulders. And some of these boulders are, 2-3 feet, high in there. So you have to really pick and choose how you're going over it and making sure that, number one, you don't bang the body, but you want to make sure you don't get stuck there either. So
how big are the tires on your Jeep?
I now run 37.
Oh man, that's awesome, dude. Yeah. Hey, so you guys sponsor a lot of motorsports and people in the off-road arena. Do you guys participate in things like King of Hammers, things like that?
I've been to King of Hammers one time. What a blast. But no, to answer your question, no, we don't. The majority of those vehicles are actually automatic.
Really?
There's a handful of manual transmissions. Now we do more in the Baja.
Oh, okay.
So, and we work with Weddell Industries, so they're out of the Santa Barbara area, and they do a lot in the auto Baja and Glamis vehicles. So.
Yeah, they build like those transaxles, right? That
$30,000.
Say again?
$30,000.
Yeah, that's right, man. I don't know if you know who Blake Wilkie is, but so he has that crazy I think it's called like the Shark or something like that. It's like a buggy, and I interviewed him about it once, and he was explaining that Weddell transmission, because I was like, dude, you got to explain this contraption to me. This is crazy. I've never seen something like this.
Yeah,
but it was really impressive.
Yeah.
How does do you have to do anything special with the clutch on a sequential transmission like that?
No.
Okay.
We just had to build. We work with Weddell developing the proper finger heights for, because that's a lot of clutch to put in such a little area. So it took us a little bit to develop and build that clutch for them. But now some of these guys are over 2,000 horsepower that we're building clutches for. Unbelievable.
That's insane, man. How do you even go about engineering something like that? Is it just like throw more material at it?
We actually run our dyad twin disc with an 11-inch, and we have it's another type of centrifugal weight on it, and that's works awesome for those guys. So.
Yeah, you know what? We should probably take a moment and kind of like talk about your product line, because if I know when I was talking to you that there was a few different directions that are a few different options that you guys offer people. If you're building like just a street car, if you're building something to go racing, or if you're building something that's like an astronomical amount of power, like you just mentioned. Yeah. So you mentioned the triad and the dyad, and there's another one that I'm missing.
So there's the new SST, which is a twin disc, and that's a entry level twin, and for most applications it's under $1,000 for everything: flywheel, pressure plate, disc, floater, pilot bearings, everything. It's all balanced together. It's a nice piece. That's the latest, greatest piece that we've done. We do have our XDX dyad. So let me say that again: XDS dyad. So that's our extreme version, and 10.5-inch version. It'll hold about 1,600 foot-pounds of torque. An 11-inch or close to 1,000. So, and there's still guys out there pushing the envelope, making that kind of power. We've been doing this for a long time. So we have, our light metal series, which is for the guys looking for the, a reduced weight itself. And you mentioned the triad, which has been working really well for the autocross guys. Jake Roselle in the Automotive series he's just killing it, and he runs our triad and that. And I think he's had the same clutch in it for almost 2 years now.
Holy cow!
Yeah. So
yeah, that's like an area of motorsports that has really gained some steam, and those guys beat on those clutches like no other, man.
Well, they're running all these different events, or different types of racing in one type of one event. And then I'm going to say like the Sweet Spot Challenge. they're taking off from a dead stop. And some of these are still pretty heavy vehicles. And they're trying to get that vehicle moving as quickly as possible without blowing the tires away. So they're having to work the clutch a little bit, and then get it up to speed, run first, second gear, top of the second, 80 miles an hour, and come to and all of a sudden a stop and stop in this box without hitting the cone. And then do that and they come right back around and do it again. So heat cycle, they heat, put a lot of heat in the clutch. And we want to make sure that the very first time they run to the last time they run, that clutch is performing and doing the same thing each time. So our clutch is, something we work with the friction material.
And you said that the Triad is the one that you've been seeing a lot of success with that.
Most of those guys out there are running. And
is it just the materials that you guys elected to use on that one that's been so successful?
We tested that for several years, and in the off-road market is actually we tested it officially. And Robbie Gordon was testing it in his vehicle. So if Robbie can't break it, we're good. Because that guy could break a steel ball with a rubber hammer. He's just a very talented driver, and he just drives everything on the ragged edge. And I'm teasing about him doing that, but he's a very talented driver. So, but yeah, the Triad's an 8 3/4 inch triple disc, and that's why we call that. So.
Hey, well, I'm curious, out of because Street Muscle, we cater to classic and late model muscle cars, and so running that title, I have insight as to our own demographic, like who's reading our title and stuff like that. So I imagine that you do as well, like who's consuming your guys' products. Who do you guys sell the most to? Like, is it Mustang owners, Camaro owners?
Well, believe it or not, Jeep just took number one.
Okay.
During the pandemic, then unfortunately, a lot of things were shut down. You couldn't go anywhere. All the events were canceled. In some areas you couldn't go do anything. The one thing they didn't shut down was the outdoors. So that's why you see the sales in the side-by-side, motorhomes, Jeeps, Tacomas, any type of off-road. People found a new passion, so they were going out and off-roading. So that actually took off like gangbusters. And Mustang was always our number one seller. And then with anything LS being a close second, but then the Jeep just passed them both by. So.
I want to revisit that question and your train of thought there, but don't you guys have a LS specific clutch line, right?
We do, yeah.
What was the impetus for that? Just because you guys are selling so much?
Well, everything's LS nowadays. Everything's swapped LS. I think it's a Volkswagen. It's got an LS in it. It doesn't matter. So
yeah. Necessitated that. That's cool. Yeah, man. But you're right. It seemed to me that overnight, I heard the word overland, and then just it took off like wildfire. It was everywhere. Everybody had a rooftop tent. Everybody had, the Rotopacks, like jerry cans and stuff. And I love it. I think it's totally cool.
Yeah. You're listing everything I have on my Jeep now.
Yeah, man. I have it on my pickup truck. I have, I got like a Smitty built tent. I got, some jerry cans, some shovel and stuff. It's cool. And it's a lot of fun. Just like you said, it's, it's a different way to camp. That's, it's like as though the aftermarket figured out a better way to do it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, when I started seeing that, I was like, "There's no way I put a tent. What kind of idiot would do that? That's dumb. That's what they make motorhomes for. It's like, well, you want to do that, but then here I am, one of those idiots. With a rooftop tent. I got a refrigerator in my Jeep, and I'm set.
Dude, that's awesome.
I can go anywhere for 3 days and not, be fine.
That's sick. Do you have a Dometic?
No. So that funny story. I was looking at the Dometic, and I was going to buy one, and it was last Christmas. And my wife's all, I'm going to get him a refrigerator. She's talking to my friends. What does he want? He's been looking at refrigerator. So she went to Amazon and bought some $300 refrigerator. I don't even know what the name of it is. And so I couldn't can return it. That would not be very cool. So that's what I've been running. But I'll be damned if that thing works awesome.
Oh man.
I didn't spend $1,200 on a Dometic, which I wanted. She bought me this $300 and something dollar. I don't even know what it is, but it works awesome. And it's silver, and I put my Coors Light sticker on it, because you gotta have, everybody knows me, knows I drink Coors Light, and
Okay.
the refrigerator is full of it at all times. So.
Dude, that's so cool. You'll have to send me like the name of it whenever you get a glimpse of it again, because I've been looking for one. I just did like an air system on my truck. Installed a compressor in the back so I can air down and stuff like that. But the amenities was what I was looking at next. And a cooler is pretty good.
Yes, so much money to be spent. So much money to be spent. Oh my gosh, I thought the Jeep was just bad in itself, but then everything else is like, oh, the tents, you bought one. Those things aren't cheap.
Yeah, I got mine used. I got a really good deal on it. It was barely used. But yeah, man, once you start looking at like the hard shell ones, it just, that price starts climbing, but it's worth it. Cause like you said, like for so long we couldn't do anything. And you escape to the desert or, the woods or whatever. I know you're in Arizona and I'm in Southern California. There's no shortage of places to go.
No, we have lakes. Greg knows there's lakes all around here. Within 50 miles, I am away from everybody else. And I am in the thick of it, and it's just great. You'd be hitting the trail and, if you're hungry, we'll just pull over right here and we'll, pull the kitchen out, because we got one of those too. Cook up whatever, make a sandwich, grill whatever up and have a couple cocktails or water, whatever, and carry it back on. It's a lot of fun. For me, it just turned out to be very therapeutic to get out there and kind of disconnect, from everything else that's happening. And I really enjoy it myself.
Definitely. Have you always been a Jeep guy, Will, or have you done other off-road stuff?
I'm a drag racer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I grew up in Southern California, in Lakewood area, and street racing was something that we did, in and out, AMPM, Camelot. Those were all the big spots that we all took whatever, whether it be a Volkswagen, Camaro, AMX is what we used a lot, and we got street racing. That's how I did. And then I built my 65 Mustang, and we'd go to the track all the time, and I had a blast with that. So no, I like big power. So if you see me in this Jeep that, won't get out of its own ways, people say, I don't know how you do it, man. I don't know either.
That's cool, man. Well, hey, Will, I know Greg actually messaged me just a second ago and told me that he had a question for you. If I know Greg, it's going to be a very technical question. So if you don't mind, I'm sure he'd love to hop in and ask you one.
He's a good guy.
All right, cool. So the 2020 Mustang or 2021 GT500, sorry, the DCT, the TR 9070, where does that fit in? Does that use real clutches? Is that something you guys are going to develop, or is that an automatic? More or less.
Automatic.
Okay, so even though Tremec tries to call it an electric manual,
yeah, it's got two different clutches in it. Realistically, it's an automatic. So you have a clutch for your even gears, and you have a clutch for your odd gears. There's still clutches in it, but it's an automatic. It's kind of like a hybrid, so to speak. So there's room for us to be there, but there's not a lot there. The money's not at this point in time. That's not the big bang for the buck for it.
Yeah, because it's such a low volume application. Yeah. But do you think that DCTs? Because over in Europe they're huge, right? Yeah. Like everybody has them, even like little 1.5 liter whatevers have DCTs. Do you think that's something that's going to be an in-betweener, or are we too reliant on the automatic that won't be a big hit?
I think it's going to come later. It's still under development, and it's got some pretty bitchin' features, being able to go from one gear to the next gear And, you know, when you're going from first to second and second's already hooked up. So you just flip, 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 you know, and so when you go to third, that's already locked up. So there's no really pulling gears like you used to do. So for a guy that likes to shift gears, you know, it's a hybrid to me. You know, I still want to roll through the gears. I want to hear the car run, and, you know, whatever I'm doing. So automatic to me is I respect them, but to me it's boring. So
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually came from a CVT that was so boring that I decided my next car had to have a stick.
Yeah.
And it was not easy to find the Mustang I wanted with a stick, because every dealership I went to, they're like, oh, we have your exact car, but it's got, you know, the at the time it was a 6-speed auto. And I was like, no, I want the 6-speed manual, please. Like, but it blew me away how hard it was to find a manual, you know, but I needed it because the CVT was just like, literally, it was sleeping pills in automotive form.
oh, they're no fun at all. You know, you're waiting for it to shift and it just doesn't.
Yeah, and I mean, even in sport mode was supposed to like kind of try to make it act like a regular transmission. It didn't. There was no sport mode in that thing. It was stupid. So yeah, I had to have a stick. But save the sticks. I mean, I now only own one non-stick car. So
And
I think
especially running those.
actually bone stock and burnt up bone stock.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be talking with the black car, because
There's lots of clutches right here and it's just down the street from you.
well, I guarantee you we don't want to swap anything into the T5, because that T5 is not long for this world, and I'm not putting a T5 back in it. So
Hey, well, I got a badass 5th gen Camaro you might want to get your hands on.
All right.
But
We have one here, you know.
is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Camaro. Yeah, that's 865 horse.
Yeah, that's what we're hopefully here pretty soon gonna be working with Whipple to throw some forced induction at it, and so I might be placing a call to you if you don't.
We have it.
But what? Oh, so hey, can we count on seeing you at SEMA this year?
Oh yeah, we're gonna be there. We're already signed up to go. So
awesome, man, awesome. Where can people see some Centerforce products in action next, like motorsports type of stuff?
You know, what's the next event we're going to? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, maybe like an autocross event or something like that.
So they're still down there in Southern California. The Racing Birds put off their event, you know, which seems to be bi-monthly, right there in Fontana. There's a lot of vehicles there that run our product. We did not opt to do that this year just because the whole pandemic, we didn't know what was going on.
Right.
Last year, the company just wouldn't let us travel. They said no one's going anywhere. So this year, was, you know, in the beginning, everything was still up in the air. So we were playing it on the safe side of things. So you know, but the world's still going on. But there's a lot of vehicles that are running our product, and we, you know, I myself will still go down there and like to see everybody, because there's a bunch of great people. And what
man.
To go to.
Racing Birds is awesome. That's Birds. If you guys want to check it out at home, that's Birds spelled with a Y, BYRDS.
Robin Trish.
Yeah, fantastic events put on by great people. Check them out. Will, I can't wait to see you at SEMA this year, man. It's just a few months away, and we're gearing up ourselves, so it's gonna be fun.
Hopefully, we'll get some Centerforce candy for you.
Samplers candy.
Centerforce candy. You didn't have the candy last time?
I don't think so.
Whoa. You don't know the Centerforce candy? Oh, Will, how does this happen?
I don't
Maybe
know.
you guys gave it all out last time I was there.
You're what? Like, how do you not? This is the Centerforce candy is like the best candy in the world. I will break my. Oh
no, I never had it.
Oh,
you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I even stopped by. We talked for like a while. Maybe everybody took it all.
If you were at the MPMC, no, we had it.
Vinny, there isn't how it's made on this candy.
Oh
like,
yeah,
you don't understand. This is like this is. Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, I will make it a point to come see you, Will, and get some of that candy.
Oh, it's good stuff, man. I mean, it's
awesome.
People say it's crack candy.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Right on, Will. Well, hey, we really appreciate you making time to do this. Before we kind of wrap things up, I wanted to give you a moment to kind of shout out maybe your guys' social media channels, website, where people can go check out some of the products that we talked about here today.
Obviously, the website, centerforce.com, and obviously we're Centerforce YouTube channel. We have our Instagram and also the Facebook. So it's all just Centerforce, quite honestly.
Awesome, man.
Well,
The one and only.
there.
Yeah. The one and only. If you're into off-roading, racing, high performance vehicles, replacement stuff for your car, check them out. Centerforce.com. Will Baty, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Take care.
Performance parts for your American Classic are available from POL at performanceonline.com. POL is the perfect upgrade for your classic car or truck. Whether you're hitting the strip or going on a road trip, POL's performance braking, steering, suspension, fuel injection, exhaust, radiators, rear ends, and more are top notch and can be seen in our showroom floor. Cruise on down to our show-stopping showroom and take a look at our brand new Blackout Series parts, or order POL parts from performanceonline.com and have them shipped straight to your garage.
Will Baty, Greg, Centerforce clutches. Dude, he answered some really interesting questions that I've been meaning to ask him.
Yeah, like the whole DCT thing, man. I don't know. Like, on one hand, I'm excited about it, right? Because it's new technology, it's new. It gives you firm shifts. It works really well. But on the other hand, it's not a stick.
Bro,
and I enjoy.
I drove that new GT500. I drove that new GT500 like a bat out of hell around Sonoma Raceway, and I gotta tell you, I kind of forgot I wasn't driving a stick.
I know, but there's something about the physical act of shifting gears that I find enjoyable. I mean,
Before I had driven that car, I would have agreed with you. Now, granted, we are talking about what I believe to be the pinnacle of like Mustang, the entire Mustang lineage, and possibly like just muscle car performance. So you got to take that with a grain of salt, right? If it had it been in a different car, a less, a more like an underpowered car, or even just a normal car, a normal Mustang, I might not have enjoyed it as much, But that particular car with that transmission, that engine.
Yeah, I'm real curious to see if that 9070 pops up on other stuff. That'd be cool. But I do. Wait, whoa. We're totally glossing over. I like how you're like trying to make a real serious, discussion when we really need to focus on the fact, how have you not had the candy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I've seen it. I know I've seen it.
That candy is so good.
Never had it.
Oh,
I don't have a huge sweet tooth though.
Oh, you don't have to have a sweet tooth. I mean,
no, I know, but like, I'm just, I'm the type of person I could see candy and I'm like indifferent to it. I would see it and just not even notice it. Now, if it was like chips or something, if they had like Centerforce chips, they'd have been gone.
Well, I mean, the thing that's really cool, and you probably couldn't see it on the screen. Maybe if you like blow it up, if you go back and blow it up. The center of the candy actually says "I love Centerforce."
Oh, that's cool.
and the way they do it, I mean, see, I'm not kidding. There's a how it's made video on it.
Yeah,
you got to go watch that.
On Centerforce's candy specifically, or like just like that hard candy.
That hard candy specifically. It wasn't the Brooks Moore narrated one, but it was. I don't remember the series, but it was like Food Factory USA or something.
I don't know, man. I love stuff like that. I before they ever showed that kind of stuff, like on Instagram, like news feeds and stuff, I always used to watch how it's made. Like it came on in the morning before I'd go to school, and I would always watch how it's made. Like, who knew that watching like an Est-wing hatchet being made would be so interesting? But it's cool.
And what do you mean used to? I subscribe to Discovery Plus just for how it's made. Everything else is just a benefit. Dude, Sunday afternoons when you've kind of finished the weekend, but you're still winding down, dude, 3 or 4 hours of how it's made. Hell yeah.
I will admit right now that the fact that you and I have the unique opportunity to get like an inside look at how things are made in the automotive industry has been lost on me up until now. I mean, I have an appreciation for it. Obviously, like, I've just never made that connection, right? Like, I used to watch how it's made. Now I write articles about how it's made.
Yeah, I remember one time when it really hit me what, just the coolness of everything. I was touring iBox place in Corona, and we were walking through, and it was basically a real life episode of how it's made. And it was just like, at that moment it hit me, wham, like just how cool it all was. And yeah, man. I remember.
Thank you, Henry Ford.
Yep.
Good job. Yeah, man. So cool. Well, yeah, but he shed some light on a few different things, right? Like, I knew about their product line. It spans just like any car or truck you can think of, man. They have so many different like options for clutches. So that's cool. He shed some light on that. I was interested in like the materials, how the materials have changed, and just how he talked about using steel instead of that iron. I didn't know that those iron flywheels would explode like that. That's scary, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of the material's property.
Yeah. Is it just like that much more brittle than steel? I wonder, like, the way it's treated, or what?
I think it's a combination of just properties, right? Because it's cast and then machined. So when it's cast, there can be built up stresses and stuff. Nothing's like been like, when you forge something, you're basically squishing out all those stresses into useful stress, right? But with cast, you can just have inclusions and weak spots and just all sorts of weird stuff, with iron. And iron is a relatively low tech.
Material. I mean, when you look at just, you talk about like the Iron Age, and then so I get it. Metallurgy is really cool. I know that, like, I'm talking to the tech guru here. But do you ever watch that show? Speaking of like Discovery Channel, you ever watch that show Forged in Fire?
All the time.
Yeah, it's awesome. They make knives.
Doug Mercaida, it will kill.
Yeah, dude.
I watch it all the time. Yeah.
That's a great show. Yeah. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, go check it out. I think it's on either Netflix or Hulu or one of those streaming services.
One of them. You don't have to have like a special, like,
no. You
don't have to have History Channel or
no. It's on one of those like mass like streaming services.
Yeah.
But it's a great show. They present the contestants with like different challenges. They have to make a different knife or sword or some type of cutting implement, and some master bladesmiths critique their work and put them to the test. It's really cool.
Yeah, it'll be cool things like, here's a car spring, you have to make a Bowie out of it. Go, or here's mystery metal, figure out what it is. Or like forge a katana out of like ball bearings. Like, okay, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah, and they have a time limit, and it's a show, but I mean, it's really, really cool. As you started talking about like things like inclusions and defects in the material as you start to forge things, lamination, stuff like that. It becomes increasingly important. So if you're not a blacksmith or a metal worker, it's a good learning opportunity as well.
Hi, I'm Jim McElvain from Optima Batteries, and I'm here today to talk about why batteries aren't made like they used to be. You've heard people say that, and it's true. Batteries aren't made like they used to be made. They're made better than ever, but people are still having battery problems. So why is that? Because new vehicles are more demanding than ever on their batteries. I came out here to Chevrolet Silverado that had air-conditioned seats, it had satellite radio, it had Wi-Fi, it had OnStar, it had all kinds of stuff. And you need strong batteries to power all that. So the batteries they're putting in vehicles today are sometimes 30% bigger than the batteries they put in 10, 15, 20 years ago. So what can you do to extend and maximize the performance of your battery regardless of the brand? Use a battery charger or maintainer. Use it once a month. This is the Optima Digital 400 charger and maintainer. Anybody can use it. It's no spark technology, so you won't hurt yourself using it. Positive on positive, negative on the ground. That's it. It'll do the rest. Take care of your battery. It'll take care of you and your vehicle.
Well, when I become a super billionaire, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but when I do, I'm going to have Centerforce make me a flywheel out of Damascus steel, even though that's probably it's an awful choice, right? But
why not an engine block, dude? Swing for the fences. Come on.
I just feel like Damascus in an engine block would be wrong, right? Like,
and cylinder heads and the intake manifold and the carburetor.
A set of well, billet iron heads would weigh like 8 million pounds. That's not no, but yeah. I mean, I'm already complaining about how much my iron GT40 heads weigh.
Have you ever seen an engine or engine component made out of like some exotic material like that?
I mean, titanium rods, carbon fiber rods. Probably the most exotic. I mean, if you don't count billet aluminum as exotic, the most
carbon fiber rods.
Yeah.
In what application?
I believe there's some Formula One stuff that's actually done it, but there's a company that came out in like 18 saying they were going to do it for the LS. I don't think they actually have like released them yet.
What would be the benefit of that? I mean, besides weight saving?
Yeah, ultra lightweight.
Okay.
Like it would just be really, really light.
Lighter than titanium?
Yeah, and titanium's got some. I mean, there's debates. Everybody's like, oh, well, GM used it in the factory. Well, they also used a different, alloy than a lot of the other places. But titanium is, pretty exotic.
That's probably the most exotic metal that you've seen.
Yeah, I mean, but like I when it gets into like exotic stuff, I think even more exotic than that would be compacted graphite iron blocks. I know they're not that uncommon because a lot of diesels use them now. But when you have the same weight as ductile iron, but it's 3 times stronger,
you're speaking to a layman right now, Greg. What's the difference between ductile iron and what was the other one that you said? Compacted
graphite iron. It's basically different, a different alloy. They use it in like WRC blocks. Dart has an upgrade option for it, and I don't know if it's 3 times stronger than ductile. I think it might be 3 times stronger than regular gray iron, but it is definitely stronger than ductile iron as well. But it's basically just like the big dog of power.
What about like coatings? I know in like the firearms industry, like that TIN coating really took off just because people like the way that gold color looked.
Yeah.
But what about like in a automotive application?
There's a lot of them. A lot of the stuff that's talked about is like the DLC coatings, the diamond light carbon on wrist pins. Trend Performance is really like leading the charge on that. And then there are some other coatings, usually of pistons.
What's the benefit? Is it just like lubricity and things like that?
Well, like the diamond light carbon stuff, it's lubricity when maybe there's less oil than there should be. Also, if there is an oiling failure, it'll still keep going. I believe it also smooths out the surface because it's a much finer surface. So it's just like polishing. But that's the main thing, is just to keep everything moving with
interesting
in oil starvation and
diamond.
Actually,
you said diamond light coating?
Diamond light carbon. So it's DLC.
Carbon.
Yeah, DLC coating.
What's that process like?
I couldn't begin to tell you.
Is it actual diamond? Like
they call it diamond like because it's carbon coating, but it's hard like diamonds. Like,
okay.
It's diamond hard, but they use it a lot in the gun industry too.
Is it like a spray on type thing, or do they have to is it almost like chroming something?
I think it's a treatment. I think it's more like nitriding than like Cerakoting.
Gotcha.
But it's definitely like a bake, heat things up. It's not easy to apply, and you can apply it wrong.
Interesting.
If you apply it wrong, it's bad. Just like nitriding, you can get hydrogen embrittlement. If they do it wrong, all that stuff.
Who can we talk to about this?
Trend. Trend's the one that's leading the charge in the wrist pin stuff. So yeah, we could absolutely talk to Trend.
That'd be cool to have somebody on and kind of, you guys could geek out on the chemistry and metallurgy and all that stuff, and I could just sit there and eat my box of crayons.
Well, assuming they'll actually discuss it publicly.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm sure a lot of that's proprietary.
Yeah. But I know a good DLC coder can be like an industrial secret. Like when they find someone who's good at it, they don't tell everybody and their brother that someone's good at it.
What's the cost difference in something like that when you look at like really like high end like titanium piece versus like something that has that diamond coating?
I couldn't begin to tell you in an automotive application. I can tell you like on bolt carrier groups for ARs, a DLC bolt carrier is probably twice the price. And I'm guessing that a wrist pin is held to a little bit higher standard.
The same, but that would be the same. That would be the same base material. It's so you're just paying extra for that coating.
Yeah, because it's all the 8620. The carrier's all 8620. Tool steel.
Interesting.
And then instead of being phosphated, it's DLC coated.
Right.
And I have one, and you can run the thing dry. Like
really.
Yeah, it's not good for anything because again, it's hard, so it'll eat up the upper with aluminum.
Yeah, exactly. The aluminum with the upper.
But it'll keep running. It's slick enough that it'll keep running. It won't bind up or anything, but you're gonna damage some crap.
Interesting. Well, if you guys want to know more about that subject in particular, drop a comment in the comment section below. As always, let us know who you want to see on the show in the future. Let us know what we're doing right, wrong, or indifferent. Let us know whether you like it or you don't. And hit that like button if you do like it. Subscribe, notification bell, all that jazz. And as we kind of sign off here.
Sorry, I don't mean to like keep laughing, but you said indifferent. And I just imagine, like a message in all caps with like 17 exclamation points. I am absolutely indifferent to this episode.
Well, I don't know. Can you be aggressively indifferent? I guess that's how you would.
I don't know, but I'm gonna strive in my life to define that now. Like I'm gonna try to find a definition and like try to find something that is aggressively indifferent.
I'll think of something. I guarantee you there is a meme out there that will describe that exact feeling.
Yes, because memes rule the world at this point.
Well, dude, they're the perfect. I sometimes like I get fed up with the internet, but at the same time, like I kind of like that. I like and dislike that that's our contribution, like our generation's contribution. But I think it's a fantastic way to express feelings, without words. And although you and I like that's like kind of our job, right, to express things with our words. I think it's ingenious, and I think that our generation really has tapped into something there.
It is, and it's a really awesome study if you ever really want to dive into it. Like it's really interesting. Just mimetic theory
there's something there for sure. I mean, you look at like you can compare hieroglyphs, ancient hieroglyphs to emojis. So what then are memes? Well, they're humorous, like anecdotal kind of pictures that explain a feeling, like a portion of the human experience.
Yeah, and it could be argued that maybe memes are a little more situational, or a little more, you have to understand them a little better than like hieroglyphs, which are more of like a written language.
Right.
But think about it. There are people who spend their whole careers just understanding hieroglyphs because it's not ABCD, I was actually just listening to a podcast the other day on this where, translations of like dead languages, it's not just this word is this.
Exactly.
This can mean one of 6 different things depending on what's
before or
after. Yeah, and like the context and how you have to get the context right, because if you make a mistake down the road, everything else, language is insane. Like I'm just so I a mimetic language could exist.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. But we'll save that conversation for another day. For right now, I just want to thank our sponsors. That includes Performance Distributors, ProCharger, ARP, Liqui Moly, Silver Sport Transmissions, Holley Performance Brands, Optima, Performance Online, and of course, our title sponsor, Lucas Oil. So head to their respective websites. Also, check out streetmusclemag.com, check out enginelabs.com, check out powerautomedia.com, and thank you for watching. We'll catch you next week at noon. Peace.